Hey guys, how's it going? Younger89 with you guys. First off, thanks for checking out the channel. As always, feel free to like, share, subscribe, get to look at some of my videos. So what you guys are looking at here is my Bulgarian Arsenal SLR 104FR. This is a 5.45 by 39 AK-74 pattern rifle. The mag, it may look a little bit long. That is a 45 round Russian Tula Bakelite magazine. It is unloaded, by the way, just kind of to clarify. But what the video is about is the ALG AKT Trigger. Now, if you're not familiar with the ALG AKT Trigger, it's a trigger manufactured by ALG Defense, who is a sister company of Geisley Automatics. If you're familiar with the AR-15 triggers that are on the market, I'm sure you've heard of, and hopefully you got the pleasure to experience a Geisley Automatics AR-15 trigger. Geisley makes some really high quality triggers, the SSAE, the SSE, they make the Super Dynamic 3 gun, they make a lot of high-end different AR-15 triggers. I think there's like 15 different models they offer for the AR-15. But ALG is basically Bill Geisley's wife's company, and they basically make more cost-effective triggers. Your standard Geisley trigger is going to run about $230, 230, 240, somewhere around there, MSRP. And the ALG triggers, they do kind of vary, but most of them are south of $100. The ALG AKT trigger, they have two different models. They have the AKT Enhanced and the AKT Ultimate. Now, they have been called by different names over the years, but since this video is being filmed in 2018, spring of 2018, we're going to go by their current names, and if it does change, just be aware of when this video is being filmed. But as of right now, they have the AKT Enhanced trigger, which is their cheaper one. It's about $65, and it's just their plain Jane standard coated trigger. And then they have one for about $90. That's the AKT Ultimate trigger. Basically, it's the nickel boron, nickel Teflon coated one. It's supposed to be a little bit smoother, a little bit lighter. Is it worth the money? That's up for you guys to decide. Is this one worth the money? I guess that's up for you guys to decide. As much as I would like to pull the trigger and or let you guys pull the trigger, let you guys shoot the gun, technology is obviously not there yet. So the best I can do is kind of give you guys a visual representation of the trigger, what my gun looked like, what the trigger looked like in my gun prior to doing this, and how the trigger looks now. So stand by, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to roll on some footage of the factory Arsenal trigger that I found in here, which was a big issue, and we'll discuss more later in the video. And then I'm also going to show you guys what this trigger looks like. We'll come back and talk a little bit more. So definitely stay tuned. Okay guys, so before I install the ALG trigger, I just want to show you guys the factory trigger. Now let's verify we are safe. This mag's empty, just in there for show. So we're on fire, and this is the trigger. So there's a little bit of take up here. There's a little bit of grittiness. It's not terrible. I'm okay with it. The brake's not terrible. Not a lot of over travel. The problem, again, lies in the reset. As much as I want to dry fire it and show you guys the reset on dry fire, you know, you can see that it kind of hangs up there. But whenever you're actually shooting this thing, I found on multiple occasions that it just fails to reset. Now, I'm sure I could go in here with a file and kind of polish up some of the surfaces inside the trigger and stuff like that. But the ALG is only like a $60 trigger, and I'm excited to see how it goes. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to install the trigger. We're going to come back. We're going to take a look at the trigger press and all that stuff. Stay tuned. Okay guys, welcome back. So I just got done installing the ALG AKT trigger in my Arsenal SLR 104FR. One thing I do want to make you guys aware of is I did have to install that roll pin and file it down, just like pretty much everybody else that has an Arsenal SLR 104 has had to do. It wasn't terrible. It was pretty easy. All you had to do was pay attention and just slowly, you know, file down the roll pin a little bit, install it, make sure your safety works, check it. If it didn't work, take it out, take a little bit more off, and just be patient with it. It was a pretty easy install. It wasn't too terribly painful, and this was my first ever AK trigger swap, so it was surprisingly pretty easy. So let's go ahead and take a look at the trigger. We're going to verify safe, and again, that mag is empty in there. So this trigger, it's ALG is a sister company of Geisley, so I kind of expected high things out of this trigger. Plus, everybody talks so highly of it, and it does not disappoint, guys. So I do like the flat bow, well, sort of flat bow. They call this their lightning bow trigger. I do sort of like that. I've always been a fan of flat face triggers, and the slight curve actually makes it kind of nice. I almost prefer this over a straight flat face. But this trigger's kind of like a 2-stage, kind of like a single stage. There is a little bit of take up, but not much. You could pull through this whole trigger like a single stage, and it's not bad. So let's take a look. So if I try to go real slow with it, you guys can see that there is ever so slightly a little bit of creep, and then you're gonna hit a wall. It breaks almost like a carrot, I guess. That's kind of what Bill Geisley says, and I guess I could kind of agree with that. It's not bad. It's not like a super high-speed match trigger or anything, but it does break pretty good. It breaks like your traditional 3-gun trigger. Now the reset is pretty positive, and there isn't any trigger slap with it. I mean, it clicks back into place, but it doesn't slap you like my Arsenal trigger did, and it doesn't fail to reset, at least so far, like my Arsenal trigger did. And that's kind of an issue that's known with those Arsenal. So after it resets, a little bit of take up here. Again, fairly crisp break. This is plenty good enough of a trigger for an AK. It's almost too light. I mean, I could pull through this really quick and without disturbing the sight picture because it is so light. I mean, it's just a super fast, super nice trigger. Now they do include an extra spring in here, so that way you can install it and it will make the trigger a little bit heavier, because from what I'm reading, this is about a 2.5 pound trigger without that spring installed, which is super light, and a lot of older guys wouldn't be a big fan of that. But the way I look at it is this is your safety. As long as you fit it properly and your safety works, the gun isn't going to go off. Whenever you're ready to shoot, you swipe that safety off, you go into that trigger guard. As long as your safety's on and your finger's out of that trigger guard, or even if your safety's off and your finger's out of that trigger guard, there isn't really much of a reason why your gun should go off unless you get it caught on something or something like that. But your safety should be on, and you should definitely be aware of what's going on and everything. But so far, I'm really impressed with this trigger. Big fan. Okay guys, welcome back. So as you guys can see, the trigger made a huge difference. Now, I know somebody's bound to ask in the comment section, so let's go ahead and address it right now. Why would you upgrade the trigger in an AK? An AK is historically known to be a fighting rifle and not like a precision rifle or anything like that. Well, the reason why I upgraded the trigger, and I kind of alluded to in the previous little clips, is that I was having issues with my Arsenal 2-stage trigger. If you've read anything about the Arsenal 2-stage triggers, you'll know that there are several people out there who have encountered failure to reset issues, which is where you actually have to push the trigger forward to get it to reset on some occasions. And that's something that I ran into. And for a rifle that I plan on using for possibly self-defense or possibly a shit-hit-the-fan type gun, I need it to be 100% reliable, and that includes the trigger resetting and it maintaining its semi-automatic capability. Otherwise, I might as well just grab a bolt-action rifle, right? So the Arsenal 2-stage trigger was basically crap, so it had to go, and this is what I decided to replace it with. Now, as I said, this is only about a $65 part, so that's really affordable, especially for a trigger. As I said, if you're familiar with the AR-15 triggers, the Geisleys and even the CMCs are about 200 bucks or more. So $65 for a trigger that's going to make a huge difference is a drop in the bucket as far as I'm concerned. Now, the only thing that I can't really speak on behalf of for this trigger is the long-term durability. Now, me, myself, I've only put about 150 rounds through this, plus maybe 50 or so dry fires to get used to the trigger. But there are a lot of people out there, such as Mr. Guns and Gear, and also Rob Ski from the AK Operators Union, that have ran these in several rifles over several years and have experienced some pretty good results. Rob Ski over at the AK Operators Union has actually used this trigger in several of his 5,000 round torture tests on guns, and it seems to be holding up pretty freaking well. Especially all those repeated abuses and everything like that. So what I can tell you is, I don't know if this is the trigger for you. I don't know if this is something you would want to do. If you're having issues with your Arsenal 2-stage trigger, I definitely think this is a wise upgrade. I don't have a lot of experience with very many other AK triggers because, to be frank, here in the US there aren't very many options available. You have the TAPCO G2 style triggers, you have a bunch of the factory triggers that are installed in rifles, and then other than that, the aftermarket world is TAPCO G2, ALG Defense, or you even have, I believe Elfman made an AK trigger. I'm not sure that they still make it. I know CMC made one. I've got to shoot it a little bit, but it's about 240 bucks. So 240 bucks versus 65 bucks for this. I'd take this every day over the CMC. Unless you're trying to get 3-gun results, you're using your rifle for 3-gun. And even for 3-gun, I would say this trigger best resembles the Geisley SD 3-gun trigger, which is their 3-gun AR trigger. And for that reason being, I would not have a problem running this gun in a 3-gun match. Now, I personally am not the biggest 3-gun fan. I don't have that much experience doing it. I've never been that big into it, mainly because I'm not a shotgun guy. But if you did want to run 3-gun and you did want to run a 5.45x39 AK-74, putting an ALG Defense AKT trigger would be a wise upgrade as far as I'm concerned. So in conclusion, I'm a big fan of this. Again, it's a sister company of Geisley, so the quality and the customer service is as good as you're going to find. They take care of their customers. I haven't really seen too many issues with any of Geisley's products, but the few issues that I've read about on the internet have been resolved in a timely and efficient manner because Geisley is a pretty good company, and they're usually pretty good with their customer service and also their quality control. So typically many of those issues don't even get seen because they don't get out there. They catch them before they send the products out. So guys, I'm a big fan of this ALG AKT trigger. Long-term testing will continue on this, and we'll see if it really does crack up to be what everybody claims it to be on the internet. But so far, I'm a big fan, and I definitely think it would be worth looking into if you are having issues with your AK trigger, specifically the Arsenal, or if you just want to upgrade to something a little bit better. It's going to improve your time. It's going to improve your accuracy once you get used to it for the most part, and most shooters' experience, I would say. And it's definitely a worthwhile upgrade as far as I'm concerned. Guys, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I would definitely appreciate it. Remember to train hard, shoot fast, and most importantly, be safe out there. God bless, and I'll see you guys in the next video.